Before assessing blood pressure, make sure that the patient has rested for at least 5 minutes. You also want to ensure that the patient is sitting with their back supported, legs uncrossed, and feet flat on the ground. Assess the blood pressure on the left arm, making sure that the arm is raised to the heart level. As the examiner, you want to make sure you are maintaining proper body mechanics, so you will want to sit as opposed to stand and leaning over the patient. Choose a cuff with a bladder length of 80% of the arm circumference and width of 40%. You now want to palpate for the brachial artery over the antecubital fossa and line up the midline of the cuff with the artery. Wrap the cuff snugly around the arm, then make sure you have a clear view of the sphygmomanometer. Now you are ready to take a baseline. You want to feel for the radial pulse. You will then turn the valve fully to the right and slowly start inflating the cuff until you no longer feel the radial pulse. This is your estimated systolic reading. Now place the earpieces of the stethoscope in your ears angled forward. Place the bell of the stethoscope over the brachial artery carefully, not to pinch the patient, like so. Apologize to the patient and try it again. Make sure not to place your fingers on the diaphragm, as this can compromise the auscultation. Inflate the cuff 30 millimeters of mercury above the estimated systolic pressure. Using your thumb and index finger, slowly open the valve at a rate of 2 to 3 millimeters of mercury per second. Keep your eyes on the gauge and carefully listen until you hear the first tapping sound. This is the systolic reading. The sound will begin to change into a louder sound and then into a muffled sound. The last time you hear the sound, this is your diastolic reading.
So systolic is when your heart contracts and is pushing blood out into the system through the aorta. The diastolic is when the heart relaxes and blood fills the chambers of the heart. When you're assessing blood pressure, systolic is the first Korotkov sound that you hear. When that sound fades away, the last time that you hear it is your diastolic measurement. So blood pressure is a key indicator of a patient's status of their cardiovascular system. So you would want to assess blood pressure for somebody that has a history of hypertension. And blood pressure is just one of the vitals that we assess. Now into precautions. You want to be careful where you assess blood pressure. Typically, we would use the left arm. But if somebody were to have an IV in the left arm, you wouldn't want to go to the right arm. Also, if somebody has a CVA, for example, if they had one on the right side, their left side is going to be impaired. So you do not want to take it on the left side. Another one is decreased sensation. They won't be able to feel if you're pumping the blood pressure cuff too hard, so you don't want to assess it on that arm. And also, you do not want to do it for any lymphedema on that upper extremity. This is how you would document blood pressure. So you want the chest, where you took it, which arm. You have the blood pressure in the units, so millimeters up in here, and then how the patient was sitting. So for my patient, she fell in the normal range, but it's not always going to be normal. So if you were to get a patient in this range, even though her systolic is normal, this is very out out of the norm. So she would fall in stage 2. Hi. I'm Mary. I'm gonna be your student physical therapist today. I'm gonna be assessing your rate of perceived exertion. So basically this is a board scale. So I'm gonna make you do up and down a flight of stairs. When we come back, I would want you to rate how hard the activity was for you, okay? Okay. Alright, Ariana, so you're gonna go up and down the stairs and then up the stairs, okay? Okay. Alright, Ariana, I want you to go ahead and rate how hard you think that was.
Oh, that was 20.
Here.